So I saw Shazam recently, and I thought it was pretty damn good. I've always wanted to see a Shazam movie ever since I watched the old Justice League cartoons. It was just so cool to see a guy be a part of this team of highly intelligent super people when he's secretly just a kid.
Maybe it's time we all talked about the elephant in the room. Should Captain Marvel stay a member, now that we know he's really only 10 years old?
Hey, I'm sitting right here.
Then, Billy, maybe you should leave until we've hashed this out.
You kept an important secret from us. No one in the League knew the truth.
I did.
I also thought the idea of having a kid transform into an adult as his power was something unique and would be a cool dynamic to see on screen. Luckily, they finally did it, and unsurprisingly, it's probably the best DCEU movie so far. This movie is interesting because it does the whole superhero shtick, but in a really old school way. Everyone is comparing it to stuff like The Goonies, and I agree. Even though most of the characters are kids, they live in a realistic and somewhat gritty world. Shazam also does something that I think so many superhero movies have been lacking recently. 2 words: character development. And it's not just Billy as Shazam that gets it. The villain gets a good setup, and even all of Billy's foster siblings have their own personalities that make them fun characters. Lots of times the side characters get the short end of the stick in these movies because they're usually one note and don't really have much weight on the plot. It especially sucks when those side characters end up being other major heroes. Yeah, I still can't get over how bad Justice League was. It really reminded me of the older comic book movies that gave characters like these moments to shine. Lots of them nowadays are too busy trying to set up things for a sequel or make connections to a larger universe. But Shazam is more focused on making a good standalone experience. Yes, there are a lot of references to other DC characters, but it's all in service of Freddy's character, the friend that's trying to help Shazam learn how to be a hero. The chemistry between him and Shazam really made this movie for me, and their scenes together are probably the best parts of the movie. Shazam's self-contained nature also allows it to focus on a more character-driven narrative, which once again brings back that old-school feel of movies like Iron Man, Raimi's Spider-Man, and The Dark Knight that don't have to stop and remind you that this is just one movie in a series of more movies that you have to watch before the big event movie. This movie was also really well written, and the jokes hit almost every time, unlike
show off. I could have just peed on it.
This movie also has a lot of heart. It didn't feel cheesy or forced. A lot of the issues Billy has in his life and the emotional payoff to some of that stuff felt earned by the end of the movie. I'm also glad that they made him a flawed character, and that this isn't some story about the chosen one, like what the Amazing Spider-Man movies did with Peter Parker.
How dare you!
It just makes everything feel less relatable and too over-serious, so I'm glad that they dodged that cliche.
Chosen one.
Zachary Levi, by the way, shines as Shazam in this movie. He really embodies that idea of being a kid in an adult's body and brings a lot of energy to the film. I've been a fan of Chuck for a while, so it's nice to see him in a role this big nowadays. My only flaw with this movie has to be with the villain and the action scenes. I thought that Mark Strong did a great job as Dr. Savannah, but after his setup, I feel like this movie kind of forgets about him until the third act, where he basically becomes your typical dark reflection of the hero. Thankfully, his powers weren't too similar to Shazam, so that made things more interesting. However, I wish the action scenes were better choreographed. The funny dialogue helps in making those scenes more bearable, but especially in the third act, the final fight just gets dragged on for so long, and at times it got a bit boring to watch. This is the one time where I'd ask the director to take a page out of Zack Snyder's book. That's some good shit right there. In the end, I'm going to give Shazam an 8 out of 10. This is one of the best solo superhero movies I've seen in a while. Please check it out because we need to send DC the message that we want more movies like this, and less big, messy epics.
If I quit this season, I still be the greatest.
You okay? Why are you talking?
Be humble. Sit down.